Guys, it is Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. Ellie's sleeping on my floor right here. I'm getting ready for work. I've been up since 5-ish. I'm trying to decide what shirt to wear. I'm thinking I'm probably going to wear this one. Like, it's so hot out today. Like, we had such cold weather, and we even had early frost. And then, I love this outfit though. And then the last couple of days, it's been like 80 degrees out. You know what? That doesn't look bad. I'm supposed to like dress conservative for work, but this doesn't look bad, so I'm gonna go with this. And anyway, I've been up since 5:30. Made some coffee, spent some time with Braytech, worked out, did way too freaking many squats. I hate squats. Squats are no fun. Yesterday, I actually seen Tilt's, my son's former nurse. I haven't seen her since he died, actually. Well, about a week after he died was the last time I seen her. It was nice. She apologized for kind of emotionally abandoning me because, like, she was part of his life for most of his life. She's also family. And it was nice to get that closure. I actually gave her something I had of Tilt's because I had 2 of them. And it was nice. One thing that unfortunately happens a lot during a grieving process is most of the people you thought would be by your side disappear. Whether it's because they don't know how to handle your grief or they don't know how to handle their own. A lot of them they're just gone. And the ones that are in the most pain, that are grieving the loss the hardest, are the ones that usually end up getting abandoned by the people that they thought would be their ride or dies, you know. And then they're also the ones that are essentially expected to forgive and restore the relationship. And like, I understand not everybody has the capacity to see others when they're hurting too. It's ironic though, because you know, he was my son. I lost a piece of my soul, a piece of myself, and it still hurts every day. His birthday was yesterday, actually, and it was really hard. And yet, I was the one that ended up comforting people more than anything else. Ended up managing other people's grief and helping them through it. They should have been helping me, but I was the one that was holding everybody together. I would have to say, out of all the people in my life, the 2 people that held me together the most was Robbie and Ronan, my boys. Robbie from a distance because he was in the Army, and I wrote to him several times a day, actually, when he was in basic, and in that way I was writing about my feelings quite a bit. And then Ronan, and it's not fair that it was my kids that ended up putting me back together, because it should be the other way around. I was also their emotional support, you know, and especially my younger ones. But there was times where I was laying on the floor crying my eyes out, and it was Ronan that saw it and came and picked me up. And because my husband at the time definitely did not have the emotional capacity to handle the grief. And I grew very, very angry with him because of that. There was a lot of struggle, a lot of difficulty there. And I tried very hard to not put my emotions onto my children. So I would purposely get up early in the morning before anybody else got up to cry alone, so that I wasn't putting an emotional burden on my kids. But Ronan would often get up on his own. He was almost 18. He would get up and see me crying and just come and hug me or pick me up off the floor. But the adults, the people that, were a major part of Teal'c's life, his whole life, they all just sort of disappeared. And I think in a lot of ways that sort of speaks to how society as a whole has not prepared most people on how to be emotionally healthy, emotionally available, and how to deal with grief. I did prepare my children for grief as much as I could, because from the time that I was pregnant with Teal'c, we knew that he probably was not going to live long. In fact, I was told by my OB that he only had a 16% chance of being born alive. And then we were told by many doctors that he wasn't going to make it through his first year, because primarily not enough was known about his condition at the time. And we took part in a lot of research. His DNA is still on file in several labs over in Japan, where they do the most research into Kabuki syndrome. And excuse me, because of what we learned while taking care of Teal'c, other children like him are living longer, healthier lives. In fact, his DNA is part of a research project that may end up having real treatments for Kabuki syndrome, which could make the disorder a lot less fatal. Kabuki syndrome type 1 is not generally considered fatal because people can live into adulthood. But type 2, for boys, it's on the X gene, which means boys only have one copy of the X gene, and therefore it's much more fatal. Excuse me. When Teal'c was diagnosed, we only knew one other boy, that was older than him. And he's still alive, thank God. But he was also not as affected by the missing piece of the DNA. He didn't have as much missing. So, that changes the outcome. But we always knew that there was a strong possibility that he wasn't going to make it into adulthood. And so I was always trying to prepare my children for the eventuality of grief and preparing myself. And so we studied grief and we got involved in grief ministries and outreaches and stuff. Nothing fully prepares you to lose your child. It really doesn't. At best, it just can help soften the blow a little bit because you understand what you're going through. logically, I understood the process of grief. I logically understood that, you know, the 5 stages of grief and that they're not linear. And so when I would get hit with these waves of sorrow and anger, logic doesn't take the feelings away. You still feel it. All of it. Incredibly intensely. But it also gave me the ability to understand the feelings that were coming from my children, from myself, to some extent from other people. You know, even as a teenager, I worked in end-of-life care and stuff, so I understood the process. It didn't make the feelings not show up, you know. I was just able to understand what I was going through. I was able to step back and say logically, okay, this is normal for me to feel this way. And, you know, to some extent, my older kids were able to understand that too. Yesterday was a bad grief day. With it being Tilk's birthday. And it's really hard on all of us. Most of us just kind of sat around talking about memories of him and just kind of holding each other. We just spent time together. Ronan decided to make dinner, and he made a Vietnamese dish. It was amazing, let me tell you what. It was something none of us had ever had before, so he wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, but it turned out really good. And he also made some homemade sourdough. Oh, why am I doing that? I haven't even done my foundation. I'm all discombobulated here. After Ronan had made food, it kind of perked everyone up. Ronan made food and Rob made pie. It was like a pudding pie. It was honestly really cute. So when we were traveling last year, we went to Sonic, and it was the first time we had ever been to Sonic because up this far north, that restaurant just doesn't exist up here. And I just kind of low-key became obsessed with it. And so at our grocery store, he found Sonic branded pudding. Now, I don't actually eat pudding. I don't like the texture. But he bought it and made it into pies, which I thought was really sweet. In case he did that specifically because it was the Sonic brand. And so we had pie. He bought 4 flavors. He made 4 pies. Strawberry, banana, birthday cake, and chocolate. Birthday cake one didn't taste like birthday cake at all. It tasted just like kind of like vanilla-y. The chocolate one was okay. The banana one and the strawberry one was everybody's favorite. So we had pie and we had the dish that Ronan made. I wish I could remember what it was called. And then it just kind of perked everyone up. And then we got down to some projects. Rob was working on the deck. I cleaned the house. And then Tilk's nurse came over. And that was nice. That was really nice to reconnect. I really thought I'd feel anger because I hadn't seen her in so long. Like, I felt really abandoned. I tried to include her in everything because she was such a big part of Tilk's life. But she didn't want to be included, and she told me, she's like, yeah, I've been avoiding because it's too big, it's too painful. And I didn't feel anger at all. Actually, I felt compassion. And so it was really nice. We talked for a good couple of hours, just remembering Tilk together. It was really beautiful. And that's really what I wanted for that relationship all along. In a lot of ways, she was like a second mom to Tilk. And not having her in my life the last year was painful. So it was really nice to get some closure there. To see that she's doing well and life is going fairly well for her. I had a similar thing with like my mom and my sisters. They just sort of disappeared when Tilk passed away. And it hurt. It hurt so bad. I was like, where are you guys? Like, I need you. You know, and they just weren't there. The people that did come around me, most of them were people that had been through it before me. People that I had sat with when they were grieving. Or people that maybe not been through exactly what I was going through, but greatly understood it. I think you have to have an understanding of grief to be there for somebody that's grieving. And it does get somewhat easier. I had the weirdest dream. I dreamed about Tilk the other day. But it was weird. It wasn't like a dream where like if I'm gonna dream about him, which I really like to dream about him, I would like to hug him. I didn't get to hug him in this dream. Instead, in this dream, he was crawling into my bedroom and like licking my door frame. And he really liked textures, so him licking things wasn't all that unusual when he was alive. But in this dream, he was like growing like gigantic till he was like the size of my door and was like licking the whole door frame up and down. And I woke up laughing. I was like, what was that? But I didn't get to hug him in a dream, and so that kind of made me sad. But anyway, I do have to get off to work. So I will see you all real soon.